So Kalei Shulchan Aruch, the rules of the Shulchan Aruch. Let me summarize the few rules that we did yesterday. Maran Rabbi Yonatan Halevy, when he wrote Shulchan Aruch, there's a certain code built into how he wrote it, how we read it, what it is that we do with Shulchan Aruch. The first rule that we had of the Shulchan Aruch was the rule of Stam v'yesh omrim. Maran, that's Rabbi Yosef Karo. When Maran writes, you lived in Tzfat? Because of Maran, you're familiar? Of course.
Yosef Karo?
Yeah, there you go. That's the city. So, Maran, when he writes on Shulchan Aruch, two halachot, two opinions, and he writes it as a stam. I mean, one is halacha says this, and then he says, but some say v'yesh omrim. So he's mentioning two opinions. Which opinion is his, the halacha?
Look.
The first one, the stam.
Yeah.
Stam is Maran. So why does he say v'yesh omrim? There are two answers. These two answers contradict each other. So it's going to depend how you, which way you go. The first understanding is Maran writes Stam v'yesh omrim. The reason he quotes v'yesh omrim is because there are a number of rabbis, significant rabbis, who say the opinion that contradicts him. Or there's a community that follows those rabbis that contradict him. And therefore, Maran doesn't want to make it sound like there's only one approach. Meaning, my halacha is Stam, but you have to know there are those who argue. Does Maran want you to follow those opinions? No. So why is he writing them?
To be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, to give respect. Come on.
Give a broader view of his choice.
The other understanding, this was the understanding of Chacham Ben Zion Abba Shaul, is that Maran quotes Stam v'yesh omrim for a reason. Maran knows that there's halacha, but he's telling you if the second opinion, the yesh omrim, is stricter, he's saying this is the kind of stringency where if it's not going to bother you, you should do it. And where it's lenient, he's telling you, even though you shouldn't be lenient, but if there's a pressing reason, there's another reason why you should be lenient, you can follow the lenient opinion. So according to the first understanding of Stam v'yesh omrim, the reason is Maran knows for sure what the halacha is. The halacha is like the Stam, the first opinion. Rather, why does he quote v'yesh omrim? To give respect. So does he want you to follow the second opinion? No, Maran has no doubt as to what the halacha is. According to the second understanding though, Maran is telling you, hey, if you can, or if you need to, you can follow the second opinion. You can now understand why two people will read the same chapter of halakha and understand the halakha differently. Because both of them are reading the same words, but those words are telling them two very different things. The second rule we did yesterday. Yesh omrim v'yesh omrim. So Maran says a halakha, but he doesn't say a stam, a one halakha, and then some say. He starts off the halakha, some say this, and some say that. Which one is halakha? You left your papers here yesterday.
My batch was in that corner, so.
Oh, do you need this?
Yeah, but there's a batch of papers with my notes on it.
Well, I think it's these.
Oh, those papers, okay, sure. Would you have a set?
No, it's okay. I'm listening.
Is there an extra set?
That's all right.
No, maybe.
Oh, no.
No, it's
Maybe
okay.
you'll sit on that side, they can look at it together. Or it's okay.
Yeah.
So when there's a stam and a yesh omrim, when there's a yesh omrim and a yesh omrim, whose opinion is Maran's? Second one. Unless?
There's a third one.
Okay, well then it's the third one. It's always the last one. Unless
The last word.
who comments on the Shulchan Aruch first?
Oh, the Ramah.
Ramah. Oh, very good. Unless the Ramah says the halakha is like the first one. When the Ramah says the halakha is like the first one, even though we are Sardi and we follow Maran, we accept his opinion that the halakha is like the first one. I was having a conversation today with a group of Sephardic rabbis I'm with. Talking about the rule of we always follow Maran. So there are a lot of places we don't always follow Maran. We pretend like we always follow Shulchan Aruch. We don't always follow Shulchan Aruch. And we were saying, every rule has an exception except for this one. Every rule has an exception except for this rule. Is that what I'm telling you? Every rule in the world, they say, we always follow this, there's an exception to that rule. Except for this rule. There's not an exception to this rule that rules don't have exception.
To kill the murder, idolatry, and
No, even that rule has an exception.
that has.
There are three things we have to give up our life for, but even there are times where you don't have to give up your life for that. So that's good. But there's always, when we speak in absolute terms, it's meant to give emphasis, not to really tell you that something is absolutely one way. So I'm sure there are times where we don't listen to the Rama when he tells you which opinion to follow, but it's just an idea. The idea is the Rama has a certain leaning. When he leans a certain way, normally we follow that. We then mentioned when Maran uses the words Yesh Mi Shomer, there is someone who says. It's one halakha. He doesn't bring numerous opinions. He just brings one opinion, but he doesn't say, oh, halakha says. Rather, he says there is someone who says. Why does he say it like that?
Because then it's like kind of giving another like direction, or like what is it, like it's adding something else without being
But
specific?
here, right? So that's normally what you would say. But here he's not adding and he's not arguing. You're just saying, random halakha. There's someone who says. This halakha means that there may be only one rabbi who holds this way. The Maran agrees with him. And Maran can't therefore rule it as an absolute halakha. He's telling you though that there is someone who says, and if I'm telling you, it's a good idea. Now when it comes to Yesh Omrim and Yesh Omrim, some say and some say. What happens if the wording is not exactly the same? Some say and some argue. Or some say and some differ. Or some say and there is someone who says.
We treat it the same way.
Very good. It's all the same thing. When Maran brings two things as opinions, we follow the second one. When Maran brings one thing as a fact and the second as opinion, we always follow the fact, the first one. Very good. We mentioned that all the notes in the Shulchan Aruch, some say Maran wrote them. But the sources for the Ramah, he didn't write them. Someone else wrote them. And that's why if you see that the Ramah seemingly made a mistake in his sources, don't blame him. It's not his fault. He didn't write this book.
Where did these rules come from?
From the different Chachamim who learned the Shulchan Aruch over the years. It's a good question. Yesh li zaher. We did this last night. Maran says one should be careful. What is he telling you?
Which means
He's saying
you
this is a
probably,
Chomer.
Yes, but
you don't have to, but it's advised to.
right,
Yeah.
it's one of those things he's advising you to do. But in the case that you can't or you didn't, it's still okay.
We're talking about
Huh?
the dish thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maran uses that language often. Yesh li zaher. Lokeh, we mentioned yesterday
Milk
that
dishes.
when it mentions that people get lashes, this Avera has lashes, but we don't have a bedin that gives lashes anymore. So what difference does it make nowadays? What did we say yesterday? It has a ramification into which case? Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
I wasn't there.
We're talking about putting dishes together.
That's the last one. This one case. When Maran writes, and this person would be beaten in bedin. Who cares? There's no bedin. What are you beating people for? Imaginary.
But that shows you the stringency.
Oh.
the
Correct.
importance of
Therefore,
it.
yeah, tell me.
Asur la'adud min haTorah.
Very good.
So you can't feel
When a
it.
person does an avera that's liable for lashes, that means that the avera they're doing makes them biblically Torah level disqualified from being a witness. Which means if they were a witness at somebody's wedding, the whole
you're right,
the
we talked
whole
about that.
wedding is null and void. There are many people who have witnesses that are not sharing at their wedding. They don't realize, but it turns out it doesn't make a difference who the rabbi was, what the party was, how much you paid for it.
How
At
long
the end
does
of the
that
day-
last? Also, like when someone has done something that's worthy of lashes, they're done.
Until they
as a
do
witness?
teshuvah.
Oh, so it's they
When
start
I-
to go before.
That's right. When I do a wedding, I always take the witnesses aside. Sometimes I forget. I'm not gonna lie. It happens to me a few times in America. Everything I forget about. But I take a witness aside and I say, "You're going to be a witness in the ketubah." Stand aside and go, "Chatati." I did it with Baruch. Baruch, you
Yeah.
were a witness recently.
Yes.
Chatati, aviti, bashati, whatever. You'd have to do vidui. I will not take a witness to the chuppah until he does vidui first. At the very least, he should have done tshuva.
Yeah.
Did he really? That's really a good question. I can't judge after everybody. Everybody doesn't have a so therefore everybody has to. Also, when I am a witness, I do vidui. You spoke a Shana today. You spoke a Tran Tefillah today. You worked tefillin and thought about something you shouldn't be thinking. Oh, because I know what to do. In the times of the Torah, when a person would be wearing tefillin and they thought something wrong with their tefillin, or they spoke while they were wearing tefillin, they would excuse themselves from going to battle because they were afraid that wasn't averah enough. That would mean they wouldn't return back from war. I mean, you'll be a witness in a ketubah. You have to be a person of integrity also in halakha.
But the consequences of not having a kosher witness, we were saying that it means that the marriage is not kasher.
That's right. The children are fire. And sometimes it helps to have a not kosher wedding. I have a camera on, so I have to be careful what I say. There are times where we'll do a chuppah with witnesses that are bad, intentionally.
You already mentioned that in the past.
Sometimes a person will come 6 years later, oh, I cheated on my wife, I cheated on my husband, I have a baby from somebody else. Don't worry, your baby's not a mamzer, it's okay. We didn't really marry you in the first place. It sounds funny, but nobody's willing to make a better solution. There are rabbis who suggested to put in a clause in the ketubah or to make a get al tonight, but none of the rabbis want to deal with that seriously. There were some chachamim, but for the most part in the Orthodox community, nobody wants to deal with this issue. They want to stick their head in the sand like ostriches. So until then, we have to do tricks. Until the chachamim are willing to get together, and the issue of mamzerut, the person is born in a wedding, born out of wedlock. That's correct, no. Born out of wedlock?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, wedlock is.
Wedlock means that two people are not married. That's not a
Right.
problem. Halakha is not a problem.
Oh.
The relationship is a problem, but the baby is not a problem. A baby is born in mamzer. They're married.
Third person.
A man and woman are married, and she has a baby with somebody else. That baby is a mamzer. For 10 generations, he cannot marry into the Jewish people. He could be the Kohen Gadol, but he can't get married.
He can be the Kohen Gadol
Yeah.
as a mamzer.
Well, not really a Kohen Gadol, but he could be.
If he's a Talmud Chacham, you have to.
He could be at the-
give
right,
him
right, that was the part,
aliyah
that was the halakha.
before the.
The Mishnah says that if he's drowning in a river, if there's a Talmid Chacham who is a mamzer, and there's a Kohen Gadol there who's drowning, and he's not a Talmid Chacham, he's the Kohen Gadol because he's the greatest Kohen around, then you save the mamzer first. He himself has tremendous merits, but he has a flaw that's not his fault. It's one of the hardest halachot to understand. So, if a person is a mamzer, what can we do to help them? Absolutely nothing. There's a camp in the world of people who want to push. Everybody has to have a halachic marriage. In Israel, it's all the people who support the Rabbanut. Everybody has to have a halachic marriage. Why? Who does this? It's Sfaradim. It's Sfaradim's fault. The Ashkenazi Lithuanian rabbis, for a long time, they wanted to get rid of this already. Rabbi Yashiv, they wanted to make sure. Let civil marriage happen. Okay, two people don't want to get married to Chuppah Kiddushin. So let them get married to a civil marriage. What's going to happen to the kids? Nothing. But what happens when you marry people with a real chuppah, and then when they separate, they don't separate according to halakha? All the children born afterwards are mamzerim. What's it worth? The Sephardic rabbis say, if we lose this, we're going to lose our stranglehold of religion in the state of Israel. That's exactly the stranglehold. We're getting strangled from you and your stranglehold. Right now, today, the last 3 nights I haven't slept. I'm dealing with a case in Brazil. A young man, his family, a beautiful Jewish family, did a giur with Harav Peretz a number of years ago. Now they want to make aliyah. Their conversion certificate is not accepted in the state of Israel. Why?
The Rabbin.
Because Harav Peretz, his giur is not accepted in Israel. Why? He didn't pay enough money to the right guy. That's why. And so what happens? What happens is that in Israel you can make aliyah with a reform conversion and with a conservative conversion. You want to make aliyah with an orthodox conversion that the chief rabbi doesn't like? Sorry. So the recommendation they got from the Jewish agency is just sign up at the Reform Temple and get a reform conversion. Then you can make aliyah. Do you understand the absurd of what's happening today in Am Yisrael? Now in Israel, in Israel it's bureaucracy. There's laws, there's a government, there's a Knesset. What can you do? That's a problem. What about here in San Diego? How many times are you going to hear another rabbi tell you, well, there's a mainstream gior and a non-main... Who are you? Who decided in the United States there's a mainstream anything? Is there a chief rabbi of the United States that I didn't meet yet? Is there a chief rabbinate in the United States that we didn't meet yet?
Yeah, to say that there's some sort of cohesive structure.
That's right. Who decides these rabbis are the mainstream? And these, I'm not talking about rabbis like monkeys. These Talmidei Chamim, you're talking about Talmidei Chamim. They're not accepted. Who makes one more accepted than another one? Who decides that? You decide that.
Well, there are large organizations in this country that have their own ways of seeing things.
That's right. But from last time I checked, members in the synagogue pay dues. The rabbi wants to do something stupid. They go, sorry, we don't want to pay anymore. The rabbi decided to bully his whole community of 400 people into believing that only one person's giur is good, another one isn't. Who are you? On which halachic ground do you stand? Hey, rabbi, ask. Go to San Diego, walk around, I said, dear Rabbi, have you ever studied the laws of Giur before? Oh, but you have an opinion about them? From where? From the internet? Where'd you get your opinion on the laws of Giur? See, in Kashrut, they want to be strict. I don't care. Right? You want to have 3 pots in your kitchen, 7 sinks. Do whatever you want. You're the one who's losing money. But you want to now start deciding who's a Talmid Chacham and who's not? Who's Jewish and who's not? You better be careful with what you're doing. Because the moment you start playing with this, you're playing with fire. You know how hard it is to have a giur that's not kasher? It could happen. There are ways it could happen. You know how hard it has to be? When the Rambam says, a guy walks into the mikveh. He doesn't say it like this. I'm saying it like this.
Accidentally.
And there's 3 naked Hasidim over there talking about politics. 3 guys. They're just there with their bath towels. You know? And the guy says, listen, Chava, my name is Christopher.
But now it's...
I'm accepting upon myself mitzvot. I want to become Jewish. I want my name to be Shmuel. Ben Avraham Avinu. He jumps into the mikveh. The guys, they don't even know what happened. These guys are like, they're talking about, their favorite TV show. And they see him go in the water and come out. What's the status of this person?
Converted.
Says, no,
3 witnesses.
this one is a Jewish man. You know how bad does a Talmid Chacham have to be that he's going to be worse than the 3 naked Hasidic guys in the mikveh? I mean, how much can this how long can it continue, this mockery? There are a lot of rabbis I don't love in the world. It's not a secret. But I don't love them to the point where I'm telling you that they're worse than the 3 monkeys in the mikveh. It's a good name for a book, The Monkeys in the Mikveh. You tell me that's how bad of a... He's not even a Tebecham, he's not even Jewish. It's a not normal thing. How did I get to this tangent? I have no idea. Chubav Kiddushin. Back to Mamzerim. Sometimes the rabbis are not willing to deal with issues seriously, so we don't have a choice. We have to play games. What can we do? Now, also in Israel, all playing games. In Israel today, there are 400,000 people. One of those people is my wife, whose religion is unknown to the state of Israel.
Huh?
My wife is not Jewish. If my children make aliyah to Israel, they'll have to go through a giur program. Okay, but listen to me very carefully when I tell you now. You know my wife? My wife is from a Hasidic dynasty.
Centuries.
Centuries of dead foxes on their head. Mamash, years and years and years.
Okay.
On the hats.
But because
on the hats, Marlene.
Yeah. when my wife made aliyah, for whatever reason, the paperwork needed to prove that she was Jewish, even though she's from Borough Park and her father was also from that. It didn't work for the Jewish agency, whatever she had. And so they allowed her to make aliyah. Well, there's ways to make aliyah. One grandparent is Jewish. You could prove that. So she can make aliyah, but she's not considered Jewish by the chief rabbinate of Israel.
Why?
Which means that according to the chief rabbinate, I married a non-Jewish lady. I'm telling you, it's a true story. If Elchanan is going to make aliyah tomorrow, maybe we'll have to send him to the Reform Temple. They're going to convince him. You think it's just me? How many of you can prove? I'm not asking you to tell me. How you can? I don't know what that word even means. How you can prove that you're Jewish? With what?
Your Brit.
What do you photocopy? What do you do? You can prove you're Jewish.
It doesn't prove anything.
These days.
They ask you, submit your parents' ketubah. I'm not here to offend anybody. How many people in this room, parents have their ketubah still? And if they had a ketubah, went through an Orthodox rabbi who did a ketubah?
In Soviet case, it's easy. If your birth certificate said Jew,
You can make aliyah,
Exactly.
but not be considered necessarily Jewish by the state of Israel. Aliyah, yes.
no,
These laws, every day I'm dealing with this. So I said 400,000 Jews that are living in Israel. Some are actually halachic Jews, some are not. The rabbi is supposed to come up with some kind of plan. What are they doing? Nothing. So what happens? Everybody just gets married anyways. You go to the army together, you go to school together, you get married together. And all the people whose head is stuck in the sand, they're not helping anybody. Because the problem is going to get worse. But that's the kind of Judaism we have today. When it comes to chuppah v'kiddushin, how many Orthodox weddings I sit in here? Not just in San Diego, I'm not hating on San Diego. And I sometimes say, I'm not sure if this couple is actually married. I'm not sure this rabbi knows how to fill out a ketubah. My last tenure in a different Beit Knesset that I was a rabbi of. So I was at a wedding. Of course, I was not asked to do the wedding because nobody wanted me there. And there was a rabbi who came to do the chuppah. It's a famous dayan, you know. He also takes... What does it mean to become a famous dayan? To be a dayan, you have to study Torah. To become a famous dayan, you have to know how to take bribes from people. So he was very good at taking bribes from people. He sat there, a special there. He sat. There came time to write the name of the chatan. He couldn't figure out for the life of him how to write the name of the chatan in the ketubah. Why? He's called one name by people, then he's called another name, but his name was also changed recently because of some illness he had. What are you writing in the ketubah? So I see he's struggling, you know, once, twice, three. So at a certain point they asked this rabbi. Now this rabbi, they asked, this rabbi, even when the vowels are in the chumash, he cannot read it properly. They ask him, oh, I think. What do you think? You don't know. What are you talking? Stop. That's another rabbi. So I said, hey, Cheva, shh.
Oh, you got the shush too?
So finally, after 10 minutes, I said, I'm just going to say what I said. You should write this, followed by that, with this last name and this spelling. And the guy says, I told you, shh. I left. I come to the chuppah. Guess what they wrote in the ketubah?
What you said.
What you said.
Yeah. Of course. Ma'asim b'chol yom. This could happen every day here. Ma'asim b'chol yom. People don't know halachot. When you choose a witness, not enough. They say, he needs to be a religious witness. What does that mean, religious? Even a religious witness has to do teshuvah. Everyone does avirot. Okay, if he doesn't have avirot, it has malkot. It's a problem. Okay, next rule. Tov. When Maran writes tov, what does it mean tov? It's good to do something. It's better to do something. This is very similar to which other rule that we had?
Yesh
Right, yesh li zahir. You should be careful. It's the same. It's like the other side of the coin. There's just a different way to say it. It's a positive way. Instead of saying be careful not to do something, it's saying it's good to do something. Shekotvim poskim tov v'lasot kach v'kach. When the poskim write, it's good to do this. Eino yaleh l'chatchila. That's only ideally. Avdi avad kasher. But after the fact, it's okay. Dugma. Dugma is an example.
Yeah.
He's going to give us an example. Maran in Shulchan Aruch Siman, the laws of Tefillin. We're on page Kuf Hey.
Yeah.
Maran writes, you have a few parts of the Tefillin, right? You have the batim. What are the batim? The boxes, yeah? Not the plastic boxes. The black leather boxes.
The shell, the inner shell.
The actual
Right.
tefillin.
Well, he knows what he's talking about. This is, and then you have inside of those batim, you have parashiot, the scrolls. Attached to those boxes are straps, ritzuot. According to halacha, the Moshe Misinai, if you want to make gold tefillin, are they kosher?
No.
What if you want to make designs in your tefillin with other colors? No. Tefillin must be black and square. Where do we know this from? Halacha Moshe Misinai. We received this teaching from Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. You can't have round tefillin, you cannot have gold tefillin, you have to have black, square tefillin. The straps have to be black too. The question is, who is allowed to paint these straps black? And how important are the straps? Can a Jew do it? Can a non-Jew do it? Can a man do it? Can a woman do it? Someone over bar mitzvah, under bar mitzvah?
Robot.
A robot. Tov. Maran writes, Tov, it's good, sheyashchirem. That yashchirem is the verb for blackening. It's good to make them black, the ritzuot, the straps. Yisrael lishman. It's proper that a Jew should paint the straps black. Lishman. What does lishman mean?
With the what?
No, it's the same letters. Yeah.
For its own sake.
Wait, for its own sake. Very, meaning with the intention of, I'm making this tefillin black for the mitzvah of tefillin. So it's not just a Jew, but a Jew who knows how to think. That also might be hard to come by. So someone who can have the proper kavanah, like when you bake matzot. Whenever we're going to bake matzot soon again. What do we say before we bake matzot? But everyone wants. I don't have as many hands as I had last year. If you want to join us for the baking process and you're willing to work hard, it's hours. It's hard work, but it's good work. We make soft matzot. We say before we start each batch, the Shem matzah mitzvah. We're doing this. It's not just matzah, but it's a matzah we're going to do a mitzvah with. We're not just making bread today. It's not tortilla. It looks like tortillas, but it's not tortilla. We're not making lafa here for falafel. We're here making matzah. You have to have intention when you do the mitzvah. So the proper thing to do, tov, that it should be a Jew that has kavanah, velo goy, and not a non-Jew. When Maran writes tov, what is he telling you? What if a non-Jew makes your tefillin straps? He makes them black.
Kasher.
Yeah, it's kasher. It's kasher.
But you just read something else.
Maran says, tov. It's a good thing. Good means if you can, if you did. But if you don't, yeah? V'uak lechatchila, it's only ideally, but b'diavad kasher l'dad Maran. According to Maran, if for whatever reason the non-Jew made your tefillin straps black, it's kasher. V'dat Rama, what about the Rama? Cholek, he argues. V'sover afilu b'diavad pasul. Rama says if a non-Jew makes your tefillin black, even if it happened by accident, even if it's pasul, you can't wear the tefillin. So what Maran holds is only a chumrah, Rama holds is
Forbidden.
an absolute must. It's not the only place it happens.
Forbidden to have a non-Jew.
To your straps. There's a similar halakha in Shulchan Aruch. If my memory is
Where did the
correct.
Rambam live?
Poland, Krakow.
So,
I wouldn't want those guys making my straps.
Trust me, Ali Baba wasn't any better.
So the way it's stated is an appendage to what the Maran said in the Shulchan Aruch?
Yes.
And then what is the way he says it? I mean, does it say, but our custom is this?
It's an easy question. Oh look, the books came back to us. Baruch, they moved back closer to us.
Yeah.
Does it anything to do with if you're obligated in minutes, so then you should make it, and if you're not, then you don't make them?
The what, the what?
If you're obligated.
Yeah,
to
that's
minutes-
where it's gonna, you're right, Marlene, you're right. That's exactly what the problem, it's not associate. Well, not, okay. Okay, Rama writes, Umihu bat, b'diavad kasher im hishchir or batim. The tefillin are only kosher if the non-Jew, b'diavad, after the fact, made the boxes black. Aval tzuot, but the straps, afidu b'diavad pasul, even after the fact is pasul. The source given, remember we said, did Rama write the source? No, somebody else did. Matzah katuf, he found it written somewhere. That's what it said. But let's see what's his point. Okay, it's similar to what we wrote. Oh, very good, Marlene. It's kind of like what you're saying here. Every part of the tefillin that if wouldn't have happened to the tefillin would not be kosher. We need that done by somebody Jewish. Maran and Rama have an argument. Maran says both the blackening of the boxes and the blackening of the straps, if the tefillin are not black, you could still get away with wearing them. Rama says no, that's only true with the boxes, but the straps, halakha Moshe Sinai, have to be black. And therefore, where Maran says ideally you should have a Jew do this process, but if a non-Jew did it, it's okay. Rama says that's only by the boxes, because by the boxes it's okay if they're not black. But by the straps, if they're not black, then it's not kasher at all. Meaning that's an integral part of the halachic tefillin making process. In which case, it has to be done by somebody Jewish. This is the root of their argument: is which part of it is ma'akev, which part would hold back the fulfillment of the mitzvah.
Well, it would seem like all the intricacies of making the sections for the 4 parshiot, and it can take a year to make a high quality gassot pair of tefillins, and that you couldn't just have those farmed out to a luxury house in
Well,
Gucci in Italy, and then maybe
we're not
get
talking
Jewish
about-
straps.
We're not talking about making the boxes. We're talking about the painting of them. And I think
So maybe the boxes also.
the box
you know,
already
you-
made. The question here is really,
If they weren't painted.
you
yet.
have hired help that's working with you. So you have a factory running. Sweeping the floor, putting things in boxes, packaging tefillin, doing mail orders. hey, I need help today painting boxes. Can I get help from the guys who are not Jewish? So according to Maran, some parts, yes. According to Rama, only the box, but not the straps.
Can I ask a slightly expanded question?
I would
based on
expect
this?
nothing less.
From me, right? I know now there are many commentaries on the Rambam on Mishnah Torah, and you get different opinions. But when he wrote it in such a way, would a question like this just be, because you mentioned the Rama doesn't give a source for some of his things, he just read it somewhere. Now, the Rambam, originally, he did not give sources on some of the Mishnah Torah, but a Jew could use it as a way to practice halacha
Yeah,
competently.
the Rambam's Mishneh Torah is a book which has no opinion.
Right.
It just says what it says. There's no better to be strict, better to be lenient. Rambam is very certain in his tradition. And that's actually something that's very famous about the Rambam. The Rambam follows the Sephardic tradition, which has a very old, unbroken legacy to it. Maran is actually following a newer approach to halakha, that is to try to incorporate numerous opinions into halakha. He's trying to take the Rambam, the Rif, the Rosh from Ashkenaz. He's trying to incorporate opinions and come to some kind of consensus. Some would say that that's an effort of futility. No one's going to agree, so why bother taking it from the Rambam? The Rambam is very clear what he thinks about the rabbis of France. The Rambam will never give the rabbis of France the time of day when it comes to dealing with halakha. He just doesn't. They're not part of the rabbinic tradition. He just tosses it out, and that's halakha. Which makes, but he has good reasons for that. It's not just
He fights with like Meiri and.
so I'm not gonna. I don't want to pick on names exactly, but let's understand that the Rambam is following a tradition that goes back. He has an unbroken chain, not just in smicha, but in on how to learn from the Talmud. His rabbis and the rabbis of his rabbis, they wrote the Talmud. The rabbis who's sitting in France and Germany, and I sent an article to this kollel. If you go to our Google Classroom, there's an article there. I posted from Rabbi Jose Faur. I posted there. Rabbi Faur shows that the rabbis of Germany and France, they received the Talmuds from the East, but they were not direct students of anybody who ever wrote the Talmud.
So
And
there's a
therefore,
disconnect.
there is a huge disconnect in their tradition, which is why the Tosfot are sometimes so creative in halakha. Sometimes the Tosfot will say, like, hey, we don't need to wash Ma'am Achronim anymore. Why not? Well, because the reason the Talmud gave is not applicable anymore. The Chachamim from this original Babylonian tradition would never say such a thing. What are you just going to get rid of halachot because you don't like them? But when I don't have a allegiance to tradition, then I could do whatever I want based on the text of what halakha says. You have similar arguments happening today in the Jewish community. This is a history that repeats itself. Although it's no longer Andalusian Sephardic versus German French, it's different approaches to halakha. How important is tradition to halakha? I would venture to say that Rambam's definition of tradition and today's definition of tradition are not the same thing. Tradition today is like fiddler on the roof. Tradition to the Rambam is, Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. It's a different kind of tradition. That's a good question. One more. When the rabbis write, it's good to be strict. Someone asked me this on our forum, and I haven't answered him because I was waiting to teach it, then to write. There's really a question how you interpret this language of you should be strict. Because you couldn't understand it. It's not a stringency that is halachically binding, it's just a good advice. Or that maybe it actually is a halacha that you should be strict about it. When the rabbis say tov l'achmir, it's good to be strict, are they telling you, no, there's a halacha, and if you want, you could be strict? Or are they telling you, no, it's good to be strict in halacha and follow? It's really depending how you want to read that. Again, like I told you, from here is where you see we have the same codes of Jewish law. The question is how are you going to read it? And remember the Rambam, I'm going to teach this tomorrow in LA. You can't compel someone else to read Shulchan Aruch the way you read Shulchan Aruch. For the most part. There are exceptions to that. If you don't know how to read, then I can compel you to read Shulchan Aruch properly. But there are other ways to look at facts and come out with different There's a fascinating conversation this year on the internet. There's a picture, one of those makes you feel good in your heart kind of pictures. It showed two cartoon characters that were looking at a number in the ground. Have you seen this one before?
Oh.
It was either a 6 or a 9, depending on which direction you stood. And the message behind it was, in life you have to realize that you're not really arguing about the fact. Both of you are seeing a fact, but it's just from which angle you're perceiving it that really matters. And someone wrote, that's really cute and it's nice, but somebody wrote that number on the floor. And whoever wrote that number intended to write either a 6 or a 9. They didn't intend to write a number you could look at from either direction, whatever you want to do with it. So yes, we in Judaism talk a lot about, there's two different ways to read the Torah, there's different approaches. Okay, I'll give it to you. That you can look at a 6 and a 9, and one will say 6 and one will say 9. But there can only be one thing that Moshe Rabbeinu said on Mount Sinai. And that's why sometimes we fight about how you read the 6 or the 9. Not because I don't believe that you're seeing a 9. Of course you're seeing a 9. But I'm telling you, it's not just that I see a 6. I can prove to you that Moshe Rabbeinu saw a 6 also. That's where we argue with each other. In life, there's a lot of need. People have a hard time with any kind of dissonance. It's very difficult for them to see two things that contradict. And how do I do that? Sometimes in life, just not everything is sail off to the sunset. It makes sense. Sometimes in life, you're constantly on the search for reconciling things, and sometimes the greatest reconciliation is I'm never gonna reconcile these two facts. It's never gonna happen.
The kumbaya.
But there's a big push, especially in Judaism, especially in today's Orthodox Jewish community. I say that derogatory. To make everything seem like it all just fits together. Like today, you can be Chabad and Breslev and Sephardic and a student of Kook, and you can float in the class. Yeah, you can, of course. You can do everything. You can study from all the Chachamim in the world. This I agree with you. But all those Chachamim disagreed with each other on very fundamental points. And if you have made peace with teachings of theirs, that's wonderful. I'm all for that. But please don't sit down here and convince me that it's all one beautiful tapestry that you weave together. It's a dysfunctional tapestry you weave together.
It's a
You
superficial.
have to take a stand.
But you're ignoring the fact that in Chabad theology, for example, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe fought tooth and nail to get rid of the foundational philosophy of Rabbi Nachman of Breslev of hitbodedut, of meditating. The first Lubavitcher Rebbe used to mock people who did hitbodedut. You stupid person going to the mountains talking to Hashem. What are you, crazy? You lost your mind somewhere. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslev, he's famous for saying that all of the people, Mashiach comes, the whole world is going to go crazy except for my students who walked in the forest and talked to Hashem. You can't reconcile those two opinions. You just have to say, hey, it's okay for me to learn from two Talmidei Chachamim that don't agree with each other. What's the big deal? Today there's a very big deal. You see this with everything. I said to talk about politics is a waste of time. So right now I'm wasting a few minutes of your time. People are so convinced they have to be partisan on an issue. It has to be one way. It has to be this way. The Democrats and the Republicans were not standing on Har Sinai. That means that both of them are wrong. A fact. Both of them didn't receive a Torah on Har Sinai. And the truth is going to be in both of those places and in none of those places. And if you're not able to stop for a minute and say, there are some people in the world that are right on this issue but wrong about another issue, and right on this issue, wrong about another issue, that dissonance bothers you so much, that's your problem. Baruch Hashem, today, there are a lot of competent therapists who can help you with that problem. But it's a problem. The inability to accept that not everything in the world agrees with each other. So what? What's going to happen? What could be? I don't lose sleep at night that there are Sfaradim in the world and Ashkenazim in the world. I don't lose my sleep. And Baruch Hashem, there are a lot of Jews that are very engaged in their Torah. That makes me happy. How we're going to put it into practice, I always tell people, the worst thing you're ever going to do is to unite all the Jews into one synagogue. I always tell them, let's make a big community, we'll all pray together. Can you imagine if the Orthodox, all of the different denominations, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, Hasidic, modern Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, open Orthodox, take all that, and Reform, and Conservative, Reconstructionist, Humanistic, put everybody together in one synagogue. We're going to do the Shabbat project together. That's the dream of it. There's a dream of the fantasy Shabbat project. Let's all get together and pray. So you come there Friday afternoon, 4:30 for Mincha. Who's leading services?
We take turns.
I mean,
It's a really long service.
Which siddur are you going to use? Which tunes are you going to sing? How are you going to sit? Men and women together, separately, front, back, sideways. Who's going to give the speech? Which Torah are you going to use? You think that you solved all the problems in the world. Avraham Avinu had really good advice. If you go left, I'll go right. If you go right, I'll go left. We are brothers and we should not fight with each other. And the best way that we figured out not to fight with each other, I'll take one side of the world, you take the other side of the world, we'll meet for simchas. We'll meet for weddings and bar mitzvahs. That's good advice. Even the Beit HaMikdash. Even the Beit HaMikdash, we had 12 different places for Jews to pray. The Jews never were together. When we crossed the... What does the Midrash tell you? We crossed the sea. You read the Torah, we're all singing. The Midrash tells you that there were 12 paths in that ocean. Now, I don't know if the Midrash is accurate, if that's what it meant. The Midrash is telling you that even when we were united enough to leave Egypt, we still had to do it in our own way. Sometimes you push everybody together. What does the Kehillat say? You get married to somebody, and that person cannot deal with your parents. And you think, well, I want to live next to my parents. I want to take care of them. It says you don't realize that by trying to be near your parents, you're destroying their life. Because they fight with your spouse every day and every night. So the best thing you could do for your, I'm modernizing his language, the best thing you could do for your parents is to move out of town. And to visit them for Thanksgiving dinner. Because you think that by doing one thing, staying together, we're a family, but your family is combusting on the inside. Instead say, hey, we can only handle 3 days at a time together. After 3 days, we start to fight. So let's do 3-day trips together. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, but in a person who has wisdom, that's wiser.
Mhm.
It's wiser that way.
That's wiser.
It's okay for things to not all be ironed out perfectly. That's the world. That's how it is. What does Rambam say? Rambam says there's no difference between this world that we're in now and the days of the Mashiach, except for that we'll have a Jewish kingdom in the land of Israel. It's only there's no difference. So what about all the midrashim? The sheep will lie with the lamb, and the wolf with the lion. He says there never is going to come a time where the lion is going to lay down next to the lamb and not eat him. It's never going to happen, says the Rambam. The nature of the lion is to eat the lamb. That's what his nature is. Why does it have to be a world for you where the lion is going to become a vegetarian? He's going to die, the lion, if he becomes a vegetarian. He can't drink kale smoothies, the lion. It doesn't work for him. And if you try to force the lion to do that, you're hurting the lion.
Zev a chance. He might go to the king.
Zev doesn't prescribe things to lions. The Rambam is a metaphor that the world will realize I can be a lion and you could be a lamb, and we're just not going to destroy each other's lives. It's going to be a world. Olam kamin hagon noheg, says Rambam. The world will continue to run the way the world runs. It's the what changes? The world will be full of the knowledge of Hashem. Knowledge. The world will have the ability to deal with things differently, but not that the things are actually going to change. We'll know how to deal with things through the knowledge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Next week we'll continue. From what I see, it's going to take us 2 weeks to do these rules. So next week we're going to talk about the Rambam and what the relationship of Shulchan Aruch is with the Rambam. Shulchan Aruch Maran pretends he's like, oh, there's 3 opinions and I'll take the best of 2. Sometimes Maran just likes the Rambam and is biased towards that way anyway, so we have to make peace with that rule as well. God willing, that's going to be next Monday.
What book are you using?
I'm using Al Peltz's book. I printed out sheets for whoever came to class yesterday. I will email this to the Google Classroom so you can print them for next week. So if you have them already, it's a PDF. Looks like this. You can just bring it to class next week.
Let's see the cover. Oh yeah, there you are.
Yeah. I'm right here. This guy took my seat, believe it or not. Like usual, I came late to class and he took my chair, so I sat over here. But that's, you see my watch?
Okay.
I still do the same exact thing.
Oh,